We begin in 2037, 16 years after previous events, where Ethan Winters sacrificed himself to rescue his daughter, Rosemary Winters, from the clutches of Mother Miranda, a superhuman and cult leader. In that time, Rose has been raised in protective custody, rarely seeing either her mother, Mia Winters, or her guardian, Bioterrorism Security Assessment Alliance, or BSAA, Captain Chris Redfield. Throughout her childhood, she suffered from persecution over her nature as a superhuman, with children constantly bullying her, and teachers needing to be reassured by Chris that she isn't dangerous, causing Rose to resent her own powers. On the advice of Dion K. Wilson, codenamed K9, a member of Chris's Houndwolf squad, Rose accompanies him to a government laboratory, which is handling a surviving piece of the megamycete, a fungal root serving as the core of a supercolony of the mold, or mutamycete, a fungal superorganism made into a bioweapon, which preserves the memories of people who die within its vicinity, worshipped as the Black God where it was previously recovered from, in the Eastern European village 16 years earlier. K9 instructs Rose to use her abilities to attempt to mentally link with it in order to search for information within it regarding a purifying crystal, which can remove her powers completely. After interacting with the megamycete, Rose finds herself in the realm of consciousness, a mental representation of its archived memories of the people it's consumed over centuries. Rose wanders through the dungeons of Castle Dimitrescu, where she finds a number of trapped girls who appear to be clones of herself, that are killed as the walls and floors around them turn into patches of mutamycete, also called liquid void, some being anchored to the area by sclerotia, or mold cores, which can be destroyed with Rose's power. Rose witnesses several Rose copies being consumed whole by the mutamycete, while others have their life force drained by face eaters, zombie-like creatures who destroy their faces in the process, afterward chasing Rose, who narrowly escapes to the upstairs area. As she reaches the castle's halls, she stumbles upon the Masked Duke, an evil manifestation of the Duke, a merchant from previous events, preying on another Rose copy who tried and failed to recover the crystal from him before spotting Rose and ordering his face eaters to hunt her down. During the ensuing chase, Rose is offered advice by a mysterious entity who acts as her guardian angel, communicating and alerting her to dangers via written words on walls, leading her to call him Michael after the archangel, Saint Michael. Rose navigates the castle, searching for 3 metal masks made of bronze, silver, and gold to unlock the Masked Duke's statue mechanism, which contains the crystal. With Michael's help, she reluctantly begins tapping into her powers, while he becomes weaker due to a mysterious third party's influence. After acquiring all 3 masks, Rose obtains and discovers that the Masked Duke's crystal was a decoy all along, used as a means of encouraging sport amongst his prey. She's sent down to the dungeons as a prisoner, where the Masked Duke brings out his most powerful face eaters. Unable to fight them all, Michael urges Rose to jump off a cliff exit to escape them, and after falling into an abyss, she awakens on a deeper stratum, or layer, of the megamycete, just outside the garden of House Beneviento. With the suspension bridge behind her destroyed, she's lured toward the house by a stuffed monkey toy, similar to one she had as a child, which has a written note mentioning the crystal. As she boards the entrance elevator, her connection with Michael is severed by an unknown entity, while she's transported to the house's basement. There, she's robbed of her possessions and forced to solve a series of bizarre puzzles, including performing surgery on one of the monkey toys and collecting dolls to fit into diorama recreations of her traumatic childhood bully experiences. The first 2 dioramas depict actual events where Rose was bullied by 3 children, Lucy, Catherine, and Jimmy, with the third depicting a fictional event of Rose being burned on a stake as a mysterious dark-haired girl watches. As she completes these puzzles, Rose is unnerved by the appearance of a mannequin resembling her mother, Mia, along with disturbing drawings depicting terrified children, which continue spreading throughout the basement. Rose soon gets a phone call from the dark-haired girl, who teases her that Mommy would be mad if she knew that they were playing together. As Rose searches for a way out, the mannequin comes to life, pursuing her whenever she turns her back to it, and is joined by additional mannequins, forcing Rose to cautiously make her way back to the elevator with its fuse, allowing her to use it to escape, only to afterward find herself shrunk into a miniature size on a floor identical to the basement, except now filled with homicidal, weaponized dolls, in addition to a mannequin. While navigating the hallways, Rose is forced to evade the doll search parties and the now proportionally gigantic mannequin, which no longer freezes on sight. All of these creatures obey the orders of the girl, who's trying to take control of the realm, and by extension, the megamycete. Just before she's overwhelmed by the girl, the creatures, and the mutamycete, Michael's words reappear, guiding her to safety before transporting her to the Winters' home, where she previously lived with her parents when she was a baby. Guided by Michael, Rose is led through the home, finally beginning to feel a connection to her father as she learns how much he cared for her as a baby. This happiness is cut short by the girl, who reveals herself to be Evelyn, the child bioweapon from previous events, whose consciousness survived through Ethan, making her way into the megamycete. Disgusted by Rose, whom she dismisses as weak, unloved, and undeserving of Mia's attention, Evelyn pulls her back to the main floor of House Beneviento, where the two have a showdown. Although Rose manages to temporarily suppress Evelyn with her abilities, Evelyn's far stronger, and manages to overpower Rose. Just before Evelyn can kill Rose, Michael manifests and throws himself in front of her, pushing her out of harm's way, into another abyss, which leads further down into the next stratum. Rose awakens this time just outside of the village, where she realizes that Michael is actually her father, Ethan, whose consciousness is preserved within the realm. Fearing that Evelyn destroyed him, Rose continues on her own, passing the corpses of many more Rose copies who have been preyed upon by face eaters. Finding a large hole in the ground at the village's center, Rose descends into it, discovering that a manifestation of the Megamycete itself is being used to create the Rose copies, which she learns are part of the experiments of an unknown researcher who is responsible for both their creation and that of the Masked Duke, the purpose of which being to subject them to situations which evoke extreme terror, as that forces a semblance of the same abilities that Rose possesses to surface. Continuing further onward, she finds a cultist monument depicting two priests sacrificing a child to their black god, the Megamycete, before finally locating the real crystal, promptly using it to rid herself of her abilities, which are absorbed by the crystal. After Rose is rendered powerless, Mother Miranda manifests, revealing herself to be the researcher who spent the past 16 years continuing her quest to resurrect her daughter, Eva, still intending to use Rose as a vessel due to her high affinity with the Megamycete, just as she attempted in previous events when Rose was a baby. To this end, Miranda had been attempting to create a perfect replica vessel with the Rose clones, but after many unsuccessful attempts, decided to instead lure Rose herself into the realm and force her to become the vessel after relinquishing her powers. Miranda accomplished this by utilizing the Mutamycete's previously established quorum sensing abilities, which allow for information to be distantly transmitted through thoughts and memories, causing Rose to hallucinate her encounter with K9, the goal of which being to guide her into the Megamycete. Once Rose was inside its realm, Miranda's plan was unintentionally interfered with by the Masked Duke and Evelyn, who were both unaware of it, but is now back on track, due to Rose's own persistence. Miranda transforms, and Ethan reappears, helping Rose to escape, while protecting her from face eaters and the collapsing cave's falling rocks, eventually emerging above ground. Catching up to them, Miranda attacks Rose, causing Ethan to intervene and keep her occupied, while telling Rose to escape the Megamycete and live a normal life. As Rose begins to run away, she hears Ethan's pained screams, causing her to stop and throw the crystal to the ground, smashing it to pieces and releasing her stored power, which she reabsorbs. Augmented by her newfound determination, Rose uses her now enhanced abilities, which allow her to more quickly evade and absorb Mutamycete power from Miranda, to summon massive Megamycete roots to attack with. After a fierce battle, Miranda gains the upper hand, causing Ethan to transfer his strength to Rose, further improving her abilities, which she uses to summon multiple Megamycete roots before channeling her power into Miranda, destroying her. Afterward, Rose embraces Ethan, who apologizes for not being there for her upbringing, but tells her that he's proud of her and that he loves her. After sharing one last moment with Ethan, she exits the Megamycete's realm, having chosen to keep her abilities, and wakes up back at the laboratory. She later takes a bus to visit Ethan's grave, placing flowers on it before being called away on a mission for an undisclosed organization. As she and the agent drive off into the distance, an unknown figure is seen approaching their vehicle.